It is NFL Combine week, and so it's time to take a closer look at some of these draft prospects. That's what we're going to do here on today's show. I'm going to take a look at 5 NFL draft prospects that Bears fans should keep a close eye on, and then a few honorable mentions at each of those positions as I take a look at one player from 5 different positions. This is Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham, and just a little kind of look ahead here, the NFL Combine schedule. Tomorrow, Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson speak to the media. Poles at about 9:15 Central Time, Johnson 10:30. We will post both of those press conferences here on the channel. So if you want to hear from the Bears GM and head coach, we got you covered. Those will be published as videos. Polls probably by about 10 o'clock. Ben Johnson sometime before lunchtime, and then we'll have a normal afternoon video. Wednesday through Saturday is some of the player press conferences, so we'll have relevant clips posted here on our channel, shorts, within shows, etc. And then player workouts Thursday through Sunday, which obviously polls and the scouts will keep a close eye on. So it's a busy week, and I'm excited to cover it all. And like I said, subscribe to the channel because we will bring you those press conferences tomorrow. Turn on those notifications so you never miss out on when we publish content here on Bears Now by Chat Sports. And we will continue to do that here on a daily basis. Okay, first draft prospect to watch is Peter Woods, the defensive tackle out of Clemson, who before this college football season was like a lock top 10 pick and then didn't have the best year. So you kind of look at the pros and cons for the Clemson defensive tackle. You've seen the pass rush flashes, not as much this year, but throughout his 3-year career, they're there. He defends the run well. He turns 21 in March, so he's a young prospect, kind of like a Colston Loveland from last year. Plenty of room to grow. And despite being a younger guy, he does have 3 years of experience, 24 career starts, 35 career games played. Some of the cons. You could argue he had pound for pound the worst year of his career. Now, statistically, in volume stats, he was better than his freshman year, but I would say on a per-snap basis, he had the worst of his 3-year college career. It wasn't bad, but wasn't as good as his other 2 years. That production did decline from year 2 to year 3. He's kind of an in-between guy, I think. 3-tech, 1-tech hybrid. And I think that could have led to some of the production dip this year. He kind of shed some weight and became a leaner D-tack, and they wanted to make him more of a 3-tech. And I think long-term, that's probably going to benefit him, but I think that did lead to some of the production issues this season. And there's been some whispers that his arm length might be lacking. So from a Bears standpoint, we know they like those bigger, physical, longer athletes. So we'll see kind of what those measurements look like. But there's a lot of pros and cons to all these defensive tackles, guys who could go in the first round. Peter Woods, we just mentioned Caleb Banks, who could be athletically the most gifted with his size, strength, and athleticism. But he has a foot injury on his record, and he's 24 years old, so he's an older prospect. Caden McDonald, probably the best run defender of the group. Don't like him from what I've seen on tape as a pass rusher, but he's 21 years old. Could that come? Could that be developed? Certainly possible. Lee Hunter, he's kind of more up and down throughout his college career, but his highs might be as high as any of these guys. Also an older prospect. And then Kristen Miller has played probably the least amount of football because Georgia rotates a lot, but he's also a young player, 21, 22 years old, with some upside as well. That's who I took in the Bears last mock draft at 25 overall. And I think when you look at all these different things, age differences, pros and cons to their games, I think the testing will really matter because I don't think there's an obvious, like, this guy is by far, based on the tape, the best defensive tackle. I think you really could make arguments for any of those 5 players. So the testing, the interviews will make a big difference. And so, I mentioned Peter Woods, but really that whole group of defensive tackles are guys to watch because the Bears could very well go in that direction in the first round at number 25 overall. Okay, let's go to an edge rusher, Akheem Mesidor, who I think his tape, if you just took age, injury history, everything out of it, and you just said, hey, what does the tape from 2025 tell me? I think he's a top 10, top 8 player in this class. He was incredible. Ruben Bain gets a lot of credit. Mesidor at times I thought was actually better on the other side. The production speaks for itself right there. But he turns 25 in April. So that's concerning from you're losing out on like half, 2/3 of a potential contract if you take him in the first round. And also, is he just a older, more established, physically gifted player taking advantage of younger college football players? Maybe, maybe not. His production stayed up throughout the playoff, which I think is important because you're going up against the best in the country. But I do think that's a legitimate concern. If I'm going to draft a 25-year-old in the first round at a position of need, he needs to contribute at a pretty notable level right away. I'm not saying he's got to be Will Anderson, but you got to give me a handful of sacks and flash a lot as a rookie. And by year 2, you got to be like a good starter. Otherwise, that's a miss of a pick because he'll be 26 years old in year 2. But, man, his tape is phenomenal. Like I said, if he was 22, I think he'd be a lock top 10 pick. He's still probably going to go top 20, top 25. If he's there at 25, I'd be tempted based on the board. And the Bears need dudes on their defensive line. I think just from a can you rush the passer or not standpoint, he checks that box. And I think the measurables will be good enough. What's the injury history and how concerning is the age? Those are the 2 questions that the Bears have to figure out, obviously, in the interview and the medical testing process. Some other edges that could be in play with the 25th pick, Keldrick Falk, a big physical kind of brunt type of edge rusher that could kick inside some. Not the most fluid athlete, but will set the edge in the run game. TJ Parker, similar. I think he's got a little more juice than Falk as a pass rusher. Probably not as much versatility in terms of being able to kick inside. Cassius Howe, more of a speed rusher, but he's got multiple pass rush moves. Is he a fit in a 4-3 Dennis Allen scheme? I don't know. I'm curious to see what he measures in at. And then Zion Young, I do think checks some boxes, but he's got some off-field concerns, so that'll be something the Bears have to look into as well. Okay, you guys tell me, would you rather go edge or defensive tackle in round 1? Obviously, free agency comes first. Trade market could unfold in the next few weeks as well. There's more access to edge rushers that can help this team pre-draft than there are defensive tackles. So if you can do that, take care of the edge position for the most part before the draft, then that frees you up to go defensive tackle, safety, BPA, gives you more options once the draft gets here. Okay, Monroe Freeling, the offensive tackle out of Georgia, who's starting to gain some steam. And I got to be honest, I don't even know if he'll be available at 25, especially if he has a strong week in Indianapolis. But I will just say this. Do not sleep on left tackle in the first round. You have an offensive head coach. You have a team that is looking to take even another step with this quarterback offensively. If they like a player at 25, and if that's a BPA situation, I don't think they'll be scared at taking a left tackle at 25 overall. And you might ask, well, what happens when Ozzie Trapillo comes back? Well, he's dealing with the serious injury, probably won't even play this year. And when he is healthy, you can cross that bridge when it gets here. If they like a guy that they can plug and play at left tackle in the first round, I think they would absolutely be willing to do that. We'll talk more about Monroe Freeling here in just a second. But today's show is sponsored by Ethos. Guys, life insurance is so important. It's not fun to talk about, but it's critical, especially if you're like me and you have a wife and a child to think about. Thinking about their livelihoods made it easier to discuss, and I'm so glad I found Ethos as my life insurance provider. I carry a lot of responsibility at home. If something happened to me, there's real consequences, everyday bills, tuition, mortgage payments. Those things don't just go away. Life can throw you curveballs, and it's best that you stay prepared. With Ethos, you can get life insurance in as little as 10 minutes. Ethos has no medical exams, just a few easy health questions online. You can get same-day coverage without ever leaving your house. You can get up to $3 million in coverage, and some policies are as low as $30 per month with Ethos. Ethos has a 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 3,000 reviews, so don't just take my word for it. Take thousands of others. Help protect your family with life insurance through Ethos. Get instant free quote today at ethos.com/NFL Daily. That is ethos.com/NFL Daily. Application times and rates may vary. It's Ethos. Check it out right now. Okay, I thought this was an interesting note from Field Yates, and I've kind of seen this sentiment go around. He says, Monroe Freeling, 6'7", 315 pounds with 35-inch arms. He doesn't have extensive experience compared to the other offensive tackles in this class, and he could fill out his frame more. But I believe he has the highest upside of any offensive tackle in this class, and I'm bullish on the player. A lot of stuff you hear about this guy. Very athletic, has the measurables, room to grow. Georgia loved him in terms of how much he improved this season. And again, you don't have an answer right now at left tackle. Maybe it's Theo Benedict, who they exercised his tender. He's on the team, but clearly they don't feel great about that. It's just your everyday left tackle. I'm eager. I think he's a guy to watch this week. How does he test? Could he run a sub 540 at that size? Does he have the strength to match it? How does he do on the bench press? I think that's something to watch because his frame could be filled out more. Maybe he doesn't have quite the brute that you're looking for, but I think he's a guy in Indy that can really help or hurt his stock, I think, because of the limited experience. Only 16 career starts. It's not a ton. It's about a year and a quarter, year and a half. So keep an eye on Monroe Freeling. He's been moving up draft boards. He puts a strong weekend today. He probably solidifies himself as a first-round pick, if not a top 20 type of guy. Some other left tackles that could be in play at 25 overall. Caden Proctor out of Bama, who's obviously an interesting player as well with his size, strength, athleticism combo, but some inconsistent play. And then Caleb Lomu, the other Utah offensive tackle. Spencer Fano played right tackle for Utah, but Lomu could go in the first round as well. So we will watch him also. Okay, Jacob Rodriguez, not a first-round guy, but a day 2 prospect who could solidify day 2 status and maybe even second-round status if he has a really strong week. I just think he's a fascinating prospect in general because he was so productive. Texas Tech has so many good pros on that defense, but he was kind of the engine. He was kind of the quarterback of that defense. The production was off the charts. The instincts are off the charts. He had a great Senior Bowl week. The question we all want to know is how will he test? How athletic is he? If he can just be middle to above average in a lot of the testing areas, I think he's a day 2 pick because his instincts are so good that he doesn't need to be a guy that has a 9.6 RAS out of 10. RAS season is back, baby. We'll be keeping an eye on that this week. But, I love watching him play. He's always around the football. He's smart as hell. If his testing can be above average, would love him in the third round, would even be open-minded in the second round, depending on what the Bears do in free agency. And obviously, look, the linebacker's a position to watch. As of filming this, Tremaine Edmonds hasn't been cut, but that is an expectation. TJ Edwards, Noah Sewell recovering from injuries. DeMarco Jackson is set to be a free agent here. Unclear if he's going to be back. The Bears need to get faster and younger on defense, especially at linebacker. And I love Jacob Rodriguez's tape. Does he help you get faster? Again, I don't need a blazer. I just need fast enough out of him because the instincts will take care of the rest. So excited to see what he can do. Okay, Kyle Lewis, he might be the opposite of Jacob Rodriguez. And what I mean by that is he may not be like a pure linebacker, but his athletic traits are very interesting, and he's going to test really, really well. He could be more of a third-round guy. You see Anthony Hill. Could he fall to 57? Maybe, maybe not. I mocked Jake Golday to the Bears at 57 recently. Deontay Lawson, probably more of a third-round guy for me. I don't know if he'd fall to 89, but he might be in between that 57 to 89 metric. And then you've got Rodriguez and Lewis, who could be late second to mid-late third round, depending on how this week goes. Okay, last prospect to take a close look at is a guy I mocked to the Bears a few weeks back, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. This guy is fun to watch on tape. And yeah, you might say, well, it's the MAC. Oh, these Toledo guys tend to pan out, man. Quinyon Mitchell, one of the better corners in the league. They've had a few other guys over the years as well. And I think Daniel Jeremiah, I saw, has him as his 15th overall prospect. So guys in NFL circles really like him. He may not even make it to 25 overall. But certainly when you do come from a small school, you want to take advantage of these opportunities, right? You get to the combine in front of all 32 teams. You want to test well. You want to interview well. And if he does do those things, I think he's a first-round lock. The question would be whether or not he would fall to 25th overall. I love the energy he plays with. That's what everyone talks about with this guy, and you can see that on tape, the effort, just rallying to the football in the run game, and obviously ball hawking on the back end as well. And I love that versatility. I think he could play both safety spots. I think you could get some nickel out of this guy. I don't think he's going to give you quite the physicality of a Nicky Manwari, but I do see some shades of that with this guy where you can ask him to do different things. So depending on what the Bears do at safety in free agency, this could be a fun chess piece for Dennis Allen to add to the secondary. Some other safeties to watch. Obviously, you're not going to get Caleb Downs, barring a weird scenario, but Dylan Thieneman, there's a lot of debate between him and EMW, who's the second safety in this class. I think both guys are really versatile and have that upside. I just think EMW can do a little bit more. AJ Halsey is a fun player on day 2. Kamari Ramsey as well. Then Zakee Wheatley is gaining some steam. I think he's a day 2 lock. The only question is, could he sneak up into the second round? Right now, he's probably more in that third round range. Okay, name a sleeper prospect for me. Who's someone that's just off the grid that I need to look into this week in Indianapolis? Drop their name in the comment section of this video. My name is Harrison Graham. Hopefully you guys made it to the end of the video. If you did, we greatly appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Coverage all week long from the NFL Combine, so stay tuned and subscribe.